Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 27 of Video Games Ahoy. My name is Jonathan Radford, and today I'm joined by Daf Gape,
Video games.
Daf Weeks,
Ahoy,
and Zach Hamilton.
You took all the words away. I don't know any words it says.
I'll say video. I'll say video.
Nothing left.
Exclamation mark, I suppose.
Boat.
You selfish boys.
Guys, we're reeling. We just did the Video Games Ahoy Hall of Fame literally 5 minutes ago. So we got some cool stuff going into there. So make sure you check us out on Patreon when you are ready, or if you are a patron, then go over and check us out. How are you guys doing anyway? You guys doing all right?
I can't keep up with
man.
the amount of pronunciations you have from Patreon.
Patroni.
Patroni. Patreon.
Patronian.
I'm feeling good.
You're all good. You're all good. I mean,
We're all good.
If Zach disappears into the Cosmo at some point,
No,
then,
I fixed it.
He's fixed it. Okay, that's fine.
We were losing light, and I disappeared because I have a green screen effect going on.
It was pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
I quite like that I was gradually disappearing.
It was like
just kind of like
sucked into the ether.
Very Infinity War.
All right then. Should we talk about the podcast, guys? Should we have a little quick chat about the podcast, and we'll get on with some news?
Go on then.
All right, this podcast is supported by a whole host of wonderful people, our lovely patrons over on Patreon. So thank you to everyone that contributes. We really appreciate it. And if you want to support us, then please go over to our channel, which is Video Games Ahoy. We would really, really appreciate it, even if you just checked us out. All of our episodes are on there. You can have some links. So like I said, the Video Games Hall of Fame, some other really cool stuff as well. And we're hoping to do a little bit more as well in the future, and hopefully soon. So yeah, make sure you check us out over on Patreon. And if you want to keep watching us as well, you can check us out on YouTube because we're on there and we put our videos up. We're also on Twitter and Facebook. And if you want to see us do some gaming, you're in luck. Because we stream on Twitch, and we actually did some Twitch streaming the other day, didn't we? On some Rocket League. We'll have a chat about that later.
Mondays.
There's loads of streaming going on right now.
It's
great.
It's really cool, man. It's great.
Really
it's great.
enjoying it.
This was the dream at the start. I think at one point it was just Daf Gape carrying the channel on his back whilst we were all just going, "I'll do it later." That's definitely what I was doing. But now,
do it later.
Yeah, definitely we're all there now, which is great. We're also affiliated with Green Man Gaming, so if you do have any gaming needs and want to look for some delicious deals, then make sure you head over to the link in the description. We'd really appreciate it because it helps out the channel as well. Go!
If you click on that link, right, and go to Green Man Gaming, they're currently doing a bundle with a selection of like 100 odd games. If you pick any 4 of them, you get it for £1.
Yeah, they got loads of discounts actually on there. I was looking
games.
earlier, they got some really cool
and there's
discounts.
some good games in that list.
Yep.
Beat Cop is a very interesting game, and it's worth 10 times that. But you can get that and 3 other games for £1, and then they chuck us 5p. So, do it.
That 5p goes back to producing the content that you all deserve.
Imagine
Don't
this,
lie,
but
it goes
5p
back
better.
into Green Man Gaming so we can buy more games for £1.
It's an investment.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I want a bunch of games for £1.
For £1.
I know about this.
I mean, that is a pretty good deal. It's
That's
a pretty
great.
good deal. So
8
head
games
on
for
over to the
£2.
description. Yeah,
12
exactly.
games for £3.
That's pretty good. It's a pretty good deal. Where can these people go, Dev? To the link in the description.
To the link in the description. Don't just go to Green Man
You don't know the URL.
That one down there.
Our specific URL, please.
Should we talk about the news? There's nothing. I keep saying this. When there's not really some major news, nothing majorly heavy hitting this week, but some cool stuff actually to start off with. So I'll start off with this. Phil Spencer had a 45-minute interview with Kotaku's Stephen Totilo recently, where he talked about all things Xbox and Microsoft. I'm just going to briefly mention a few things that stood out to me. So firstly, on the acquisition of ZeniMax, the parent company of Bethesda, id Software, and other top-flight studios, he was asked if it was possible to recoup a $7.5 billion investment if you don't sell Elder Scrolls 6 on the PlayStation. His response was this: yes. That was literally it. And then he was pushed and he said, Spencer quickly replied, I don't want to be flip about that. This deal was not done to take games away from other player base like that. Nor in the documentation that we put together was, how do we keep other players from playing these games? We want more people to be able to play games, not fewer people to be able to play games. But I'll also say, in the model, I'm just answering directly the question that you had. When I think about where people are going to be playing and the number of devices that we had, we have xCloud and PC and Game Pass on our console base. I don't have to go ship those games on other platforms to make the deal work for us, whatever that means. That's what he said. I didn't say whatever that means. That's literally how he ended it. I'm still unsure whether they are going to actually keep things off PlayStation, but we've pretty much had Phil Spencer saying straight off the bat, if we want to, we can. It's not gonna change things for us. We want people to play. You can see where he's saying straight away, I want people to play Bethesda games on these consoles, or this model, basically the Microsoft platform in general. And if it comes on PlayStation, great. If it doesn't, oh well. Yeah. I mean, how do you guys feel about that?
So just quickly, for me, I would be very surprised based on that if it does turn up on PS5, because
the way he's worded that,
he's a great guy in an interview. Like, he knows exactly what to do in every situation. He never gets caught. But part of that is being honest.
Yep.
And sewed between the lines of what he's saying there is, look, we don't need to sell it on PS5. Well, if they don't need to sell it on PS5, why would they?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they want to bring more people to Game Pass? And it's on PC. It's going to be it's on mobile phones.
Yeah.
Mobile phones. If he says they don't need to sell it on PS5, I don't see why they would. And to go back quickly to what they were saying before about how it was on a case-by-case basis, I just think that was on about like Elder Scrolls Online or Fallout 76, things that are already these live service games that are already on these other systems. They're not going to pull them off, and obviously Deathloop and things like that as well.
Oh, I was going to say that's a really good point, and the thing is, he is right when he says we're not trying to hold games away from people, because being able to play Xbox games on my phone, which is something that I've done, costs. You can get a test. I think it's a trial for like £1.
Yeah, more people have phones than PS5s.
Exactly. He's not. He's just saying if you want to play these games, pay £10. You got them on your phone, which you can then use on your computer, which I've done previously myself. It's not, obviously doesn't have that ease, and it does take away from the PlayStation, I guess, console users. But I mean, they bought them. They can decide what to do with them. But yeah, he had a huge conversation on this, loads of wide-ranging topics, and one of them was on whether Rare might do more to bring some of its classic characters such as Banjo-Kazooie and Conker back and create some more games. And he says, I leave it up to the studios in terms of the things that they want to go work on. I have a lot of respect for Rare and the work that they do. They do like building new things, and they've seen success with Sea of Thieves. I think they're really excited about Everwild, but also the response to Battletoads was nice. My inbox is full of let every studio do new intellectual property, and also why have you brought back Crimson Skies and Planks? I guess that's something we've just had a discussion on this about Rare. I mean, we know how much that those games and those characters mean to us, but Rare isn't really the same company as it used to be. It's not the same company. There's not really anyone left from the huge era of the 90s and the early 2000s. There's no one really left. So
yeah, most of them are at Playtonic now making ukulele.
Exactly, and the thing is that even if they wanted to have like Banjo-Kazooie and Conker, look at the last Banjo-Kazooie game. Like, it didn't sell well and it wasn't very good, especially when you compare it to its two predecessors. But yeah, how do you guys feel about that? Would you be more excited if they brought back Banjo-Kazooie and Conker, or would you, like, I know this wouldn't happen, would you, if like if they came to Playtonic and said, yeah, all right, we're going to give you these characters and we want you to make a game, would you feel more comfortable with that, based on the fact that they are from like the guys who created Rare in the first place? How would you guys feel? Daf Weeks, let's go with you, because I know how much you love Rare.
I don't know, maybe it's like those games were just a product of their time and we should just leave it there. Like, platforming is a very different genre in gaming than it was back in the 90s and early noughties.
Yeah.
I mean, if you go back and play them, they're going to be janky, just by modern standards.
Yeah.
And maybe we should just leave it in a really nice, happy memory, because, let's be honest, they're never going to have that same kind of charm, because it's all just seeped in nostalgia.
Yeah. And you still have access to it with a Rare Replay. We can still go back and play those games. They've not disappeared.
Yeah.
So
Jonny, how did you feel about ukulele? Because I know you played it a little bit.
I bought ukulele, and I thought that it did some things really, really well, and then some things I just thought were, like Dav kind of says, some of it was it felt nostalgic for nostalgic's sake rather than actually being good game design anymore. Like, it just felt like there was some mechanics in the game that we've moved past. Like, it would have been fine and acceptable in the 90s, but they were doing it now, and it's like, it's not really acceptable, and it's frustrating because...
With that being said, because I wonder if one of the problems, because it was Platonic kind of out on their own, as far as I understand.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
I wonder if having the... not only the resources and the funding from Microsoft, but also a bit of a kick up the arse to say, like, you can't keep doing this shit, might make for a better game. But I think you're right, to be honest, Dav. I think it's, it's 20 years ago, man.
Do you think, just very quickly, do you think this may be one of Nintendo's biggest regret is not taking Rare when they had the chance? Because they did. Rare came to Nintendo and said, please buy us. We want to, we would happily work for you. We need funding. Please buy us. Nintendo said, no, we want to keep things as they were. And then Microsoft were like, okay. And that was it. And
well, Nintendo had a minority share in Rare. I think they owned 49% of them.
Yeah, they owned, which is crazy.
And they didn't want to take the extra 2%.
It's mad. Like, in hindsight, like, having those characters, I think specifically Banjo, like, I love Perfect Dark, but I don't think that game hits anywhere near, to people's hearts as Banjo-Kazooie. And it is sad that Banjo has kind of been lost because my phone's falling now. Because he is such an iconic character. I mean, we've said this before, the reception to him getting in Smash Ultimate was huge. People went mental.
Nintendo still have him.
They do.
He is in Smash Bros. And to go back just briefly about what you were saying about ukulele and how it hasn't sort of learnt from the time and how we've grown past what Banjo is now. We think about Streets of Rage 4, Jonny, when we were playing that. It felt like we were playing Streets of Rage 1 or Streets of Rage 2, but it felt fresh. It felt new. It felt modern. Yeah. Whereas ukulele felt really stale, and it felt like, it just feels like I'm playing Banjo-Kazooie. Yeah, which is a bad
Banjo-Kazooie as well. Like not a
like
bad,
a really average Banjo-Kazooie.
Yeah, average is probably better.
But but then they did make Ukulele and the Impossible Layer, which
that was much better. I
haven't played, but it's supposed to be like Donkey Kong Country-esque. But anyway,
I played the demo of that, and it was really good. I didn't buy it because it's just I had other games to play, and I played the demo. I was like, wow, this is better. I much preferred that. But in the same way, the Donkey Kong 64, a lot of people didn't actually like that. A lot of people really hate Donkey Kong 64, and it came back to its roots, and it's still great. Like, I mean, we've said so many times in this podcast how much we love Tropical Freeze. But maybe going back to something like that would work for them. But yeah, maybe one day we'll see Banjo-Kazooie. I think we're more likely to see him than Conker.
I think new stuff from Rare is better.
Yeah. Actually, he actually mentioned Nintendo as well. So he said, on the current relationship between Nintendo and Microsoft, he said, we have a very good relationship with Nintendo, and I think we see our work very synergistically in terms of trying to grow the market. And it just makes it easy. Every conversation we have with them has been really easy. He cited good conversations with Nintendo CEO Shintaro Furukawa and Nintendo of America President Doug Bowser, who he said he spoke to last week. On the subject of more games coming to the Switch, he said, in order to really support more Xbox games coming to non-Xbox consoles, I would want a full Xbox ecosystem somewhere. And that probably means things like Live and Game Pass and stuff. He then added, I don't want to speak for them being Nintendo. He said, I think they should probably answer. I think this is what a lot of people do tend to think, that Nintendo is more likely of the two huge companies that would accept Game Pass, because there's so much that Xbox and Microsoft bring, that, especially with the cloud gaming, the fact that if they had that on there with the Game Pass and you could just stream it to your Switch, that would be that's just a really good way to play,
Yeah.
How do you guys feel about that? Do you think Microsoft are going to do any more deals with Nintendo?
I kind of wish they did, but I don't know.
I think you're right. I think that Nintendo's the most likely, because it's so on the other end of the spectrum. Like, they've so detached themselves from all things console wars. But
Nintendo.
It would definitely make me get a Switch Pro. But I mean, I just don't think I don't see Nintendo seeing that as a worthy swap.
It would be a good way for Microsoft to have access to Japan if they said to Nintendo, you can have Game Pass for a reduced price on the Switch, like maybe even if it was only £1, access to, or even just access to it. Like in Japan, that's what Microsoft and Xbox desperately want. But Dab, you were going to say something. What were you going to say?
I don't see it happening on Nintendo's side of it. I think Nintendo want control over... The thing is, right, let's say you have a Game Pass app. You enter the Game Pass app. You now have no more contact with anything Nintendo.
Yeah.
Everything in there is Microsoft.
Yeah. And
you don't have to think about Nintendo. You don't have to worry about Mario games, Zelda games, anything. I don't think Nintendo wants someone to turn on a Switch and then have no interaction with anything to do with Nintendo.
That's a really good point.
Once you're in the Game Pass app, you're not spending any money on Nintendo.
Yep.
Now, sure, Nintendo will probably get a cut of Game Pass revenue if Game Pass was on there. But also, from an Xbox side, I can definitely see how they'd want it on Switch, and I can definitely see why they wouldn't want it on PS5. Because, at the moment, although Phil Spencer has said in the past that he doesn't believe that Sony is his competition anymore, he thinks it's things like Luna or Stadia, stuff like that. Cloud-based stuff. But at the moment, they're definitely in competition with each other. I mean, it's obvious. They're releasing 2 days apart from each other in North America. But it's just, for me, I don't see why Xbox would want to go and put all their Xbox games on a PS5 when they're buying all these studios to get people to go to Game Pass, and one of the best places to play with Game Pass games is on the Xbox Series X and Series S and Xbox One S, blah blah blah. I don't see why they would do that. I don't think right now it's a financially good decision for them.
Yeah.
Not that I'm an economist, but I can see them wanting to do it with Switch, but I can't see Nintendo doing it.
Yeah, you're right. I think with Nintendo, I think it would be an incredible get from Microsoft, but you're right. What does Nintendo get out of it beyond money? And Nintendo doesn't really need money. That's the thing. They don't need. They've got a lot of money coming in. They don't necessarily need money, and I think that might be something that
they could just resell Twilight Princess for £60
exactly
on Switch next year without doing anything to it, and they'd be absolutely fine.
You've seen next year's games list.
It's Twilight Princess for £60. It's Skyward Sword for £60.
Yeah. Wind Waker 65.
Yeah, and an N64 emulator with 3 games on it.
Right,
you're not far off, are you? Realistically,
I mean, it's not really far off. Yeah,
it's interesting. Though, I mean, could they? I know I'm going on about it, but could they combine the Switch online system with Game Pass and have an integrated Xbox Pass, whatever the fuck it's called, Games Pass with?
Switch Online's too cheap.
Yeah,
how much is theirs?
For a year, less than £20 for a year.
Yeah, it's like
wow.
You can get a family pass for like 7 people for £30.
Wow.
So like I do it with me and Rosie and my brother. So like we're barely paying just over.
But so if it's 10, but if it's £10, is it £10 for Game Pass?
A month.
A month. So then they just chuck on an extra like 50p, or I haven't done the maths, but however much it is for the Nintendo one, and then just make an integrated app that also advertises all their Zelda and their Mario and shit.
Yeah. It is interesting. I mean, we will see what happens. I mean, I know Ori, the new Ori game. That I know that's not necessarily with Microsoft, but they did ask specifically for Microsoft to allow them to put it on Switch, and maybe it could just be a developer thing. Especially, I don't know. We'll see what happens. Maybe there's
Studios who make Ori aren't owned by Xbox.
Yeah, they're not. Yeah, they're not owned by. They're 2K now, aren't they?
I think they're. You're right. Actually, private division.
2K.
Yeah, 2K.
Speaking of 2K, actually, because we're going to move on now. 2K has added unskippable ads into NBA 2K21 pre-game loading screens. Acting on a tip from a reader, so this is Stevivo, the website. Acting on a tip from a reader, we've cited and recorded ads for the Oculus Quest 2 that now appear inside the PS4, Xbox One, and Windows PC versions of the game. They're unskippable, attached to a pre-game video called My Team Season 2 Episode 7 that's auto-started in a loading screen that takes longer than the ad runs, even on a PC run from an SSD. 2K has since released a statement saying it plans to fix the in-game ads, which are not meant to run as part of the pre-game introduction. So I don't know.
So what are they meant to run as?
Well, I was just going to say, why are they there? Like, why are they there if they're not supposed to run as a pre-game introduction? Like, either
they tried it with 2K20, and they
did.
rinsed through it and had to take it out.
And so did EA. EA did the exact same thing with UFC and got absolutely, like you say, rinsed for it. And 2K have tried it twice, and both times people have just gone crazy. Because no, because you've bought the game. Like you shouldn't have to.
They're trying it on, aren't they? They're just going like, we'll get away with this for a little bit longer.
It is the one thing I hate the
Fuckers.
most about like video games as a medium. Really, is that like companies are willing to try things that like you can't really do in other like if it started popping up in films, people would be going mad. YouTube do it now, and it drives me crazy. Trying to watch a video on YouTube, you get about 3 ads in a 10-minute video. Like that it's going to drive people to the point where they don't want to buy things.
Although, if you go to the cinema, there are ads, and I bet you there weren't ads in cinemas like from their inception.
True,
but we know they're there.
Yeah,
and
we know they're there now though, because we've grown up with them. But I'm presuming that at one point they just would have played a film. I'd have to check that. But maybe they're just trying it on until they reach the point where we're expecting to watch adverts.
Yeah, and I guess the difference is as well is that like you wouldn't expect to see one during the middle of a film. Like you would you wouldn't see someone start drinking Coca-Cola and they just turn to the camera and just be like, "Buy new Cola Light." I mean, they might as a joke.
Totally do that. They do that in loads of movies.
No, what I mean is like an actual
advert.
Yeah, not just like
not integrated,
not product placement. Like actual someone just going like, "Buy Cola Light."
There's a great scene in World War Z where Brad Pitt, who's like just turned up at the World Health Organization in Wales. And he's like,
where
they're like trying to find a cure and stuff. And he's like, "Oh, I'm exhausted fighting all these zombies." And he just sees this like Pepsi vending machine, like bangs it, gets the Pepsi out, and just like drinks it. Like, and I'm like,
wait, what
is going? World War Z, like it's quite a well-known like zombie film. And it's like, what is going on right now? But to your point about advert, the difference is in a movie, it's about 20 minutes worth. It's about half an hour now.
Yeah.
Before the film. So you don't have to go until half an hour. If I boot up a game and there's half an hour trailers, I'm not going anywhere. I've got to wait.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like,
if it was like you can play Rocket League at 8, but there'll be 30 minutes of trailers, it's like great. I'll see you at 8:30 for Rocket League.
Yeah, it's like and again, it's one of those things where because you just spend £60 on a game, it's like
film's a tenner.
You shouldn't be dealing with ads in the middle of a game. You've just spent £60 on it. It just seems ridiculous. Not. Like again, even with films are a tenner. Maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, depending on where you go. But like, it just seems mad that you'd spend £60 and then be forced to watch ads in a game. Like I said, 2K have said that it was a mistake. My reaction to that is, well, if it's a mistake, someone's fucked up and you've not noticed it. So like, but then why would it be there in the first place? I don't buy that.
How did it get there? What
how could it exist?
Exactly.
Accidentally spent hours coding it.
Yeah, someone's coded that into the game.
Shut
no
up.
one's noticed it. Like,
Shut
it's
up.
nonsense.
Get in the
You know
bin.
what's almost as annoying is that they haven't worked out a better way to get these ads in without people going absolute batshit mental. Like, whoever's working on this advertising stuff, get your shit together and work out a way to.
Should we do the exact same thing EA did and got shouted at for? Yes, let's do that. And now we're getting shouted
at your
at.
jobs.
But
put your advert on a billboard on the side of the.
Just
put
like everyone else does.
Just put Brad Pitt back in it and get him to go and drink some Pepsi.
Damn, that's some
NBA
fine
2K22.
tasting Pepsi.
Zombies.
I had a Pepsi bottle around here somewhere. I was going to do some product placement for it. Anyway, all right, let's move
your
on.
new mandolin and ukulele.
Let's move on to our next topic, which is so basically Nintendo Life reported earlier this week that according to NPD, the Switch would be the best-selling console this holiday season in the US. That's not a massive surprise considering we're limited consoles with the PS5 and the Xbox Series X and S. But it gets really interesting here when you start listening to this. The device is apparently in high demand with households expected to pick up multiple units in the fourth quarter. According to this is the lack of available inventory of the new PlayStation and Xbox systems, which we've spoken about, which will supposedly leave the Switch as an appealing and available option. If you weren't already convinced that the Switch's success is set to continue, in addition to this, it's now been highlighted, and this is the crazy thing, the hybrid system has been the best-selling console hardware in the US for 22 consecutive months in a row.
Whoa.
That dates all the way back to December 2018, around the time Super Smash Bros. Ultimate was released, and this is actually a new record for the US. The previous record holder was... What do you think the previous record holder was?
PS3.
It was the Xbox 360.
Ooh.
Which is the best-selling console for 21 months between August 2011 and April 2013, which is even more surprising because that was towards the end of the Xbox 360's life, and it didn't do anywhere near as well at the end as it did at the start. NPD's industry analyst Matt Piscatella notes that the Switch is selling at or above levels never seen before in the US. To date, the Switch has sold more than 62 million units worldwide, and back in August, it surpassed lifetime sales of the NES. Yeah, I just wanted to quickly speak about that because that is incredible. Like, I mean, 22 months in a row, and it's probably set to continue. It's going to be the best-selling console for months still because it's going to be the one that's most available. And you could have parents going, I need to get my little kid a console. Little Johnny, yeah, exactly. And but the only one available is a Switch. Oh, I'll get him that. It has Mario, a character that I know. You know, it's like it doesn't take much for the Switch to get sold, especially because it's selling so well as it is.
Shall we coin the phrase instead of selling like hotcakes, selling like Switches?
I think we're going to have to. I will say we're coming up to. Actually, I should add this. This is not on my list of things, but the Switch was revealed 4 years ago, either yesterday or the day before. But it's still not been out 4 years. You know, it's only been out for 3.5 years, which means it's probably at its halfway point, and it's sold 62 million. But again, that was from a couple of months ago, so it's probably closer to 70 million, and that's at 3.5 years. Switch is going to break 100 million. It's going to be the best-selling Nintendo console, home console. I don't know if it'll beat the DS, which was 150 million units sold, which is ridiculous. But yeah, Switch is selling like a Switch. Like Switches.
How fun, because the Wii U is absolute garbage. So
yeah, it is.
God.
It is quite. It's quite a difference. Let's just put it that way between the last two consoles. Let's move on. So, speaking of the Switch as well, VG247 has reported that Ring Fit Adventure has officially sold more. This is just a funny one. Sold more at retail in Japan than the Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. Ring Fit Adventure has proven to be an enduring hit for Nintendo. When it launched a year ago, the game was constantly out of stock to the point that many outlets, including ourselves, posted updates whenever it came back into stock. A year later, the exercise game continues to hold strong. It's constantly in the Japanese top 10. Every time I check the Japanese top 10, it's there, and it's like near the top. Japanese magazine Famitsu recently revealed the retail sales in the country for the previous week, covering October 5th to 11th. During that period, Ring Fit Adventure managed to sell 33,000 units, enough for it to land the number 3 spot. And only overtaken by Animal Crossing and FIFA 21. I think the units are just... So the units for Ring Fit is 668,843, and Zelda is about 6,000 less, which is crazy when you think that it's the Breath of the Wild. But
only in Japan,
Zelda
right?
Zelda doesn't sell well in Japan, apparently. It's all of Zelda's big sales have been in the US. It sells better in the US, way more in the US than it does in Japan, which I was quite shocked at.
It's definitely more of a Western RPG, though, isn't it?
It especially Breath of the Wild. That feel, the way it feels. I mean, they looked at Skyrim, for instance. They used Skyrim as inspiration. So.
And now Elder Scrolls 6 is going to look at Breath of the Wild.
Exactly. But yeah, it's been a pretty good couple of months. I mean, a load of good months for Nintendo now. Again, keeping with Nintendo, the next two are going to be with Nintendo, and they're just going to be just fun ones. The Crown Tundra expansion pass for Pokemon Sword and Shield arrives Friday, October the 23rd. I think it's also 22nd for America, but it's definitely 23rd in the UK. This is from the UK's website. The Crown Tundra is the second area you'll be able to visit with your expansion pass. See for yourself this vast landscape with its drifts of glittering snow. In this frigid area with jagged snowy mountains, people have settled in a small, tight-knit community. Are you guys... I know Zach obviously can't, but Daf Weeks, I know... Did you buy Pokemon recently?
No, I've not played it.
You've not played it?
We've got a copy. Hoy's played it and completed it and liked it, but I've not got around to it.
Yeah, I was exactly the same. So I guess I need to ask Dav, did you get the expansion pass for the first one?
I have the expansion pass. I haven't played Isle of Armor, which is the first expansion.
Yeah.
I do want to, and I do plan to, but there's just always another game I want to play more of.
Yeah.
I'll get around to it eventually.
Yeah.
And when I do, you'll hear about it.
Apparently, Isle of Armor. My brother said it was. He preferred. I think I've said this before. My brother preferred it to the actual main game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I still have a slightly bad taste in my mouth from the main game.
Yeah.
Even though I know that Isle of Armor is more of what I wanted from the game, I just still haven't got to it yet.
Of course. But yeah, check that out. Like I said, it's coming out in the next 2 days. By the time this podcast goes live, it will actually have just come out. So check it out. Mario Kart Live was released earlier this week, and it's been having fairly good reviews. Andy Robertson of VGC wrote that it successfully captures the feel and fun of a traditional Mario Kart game, which is a fantastic achievement in its own right. But it's also a very cool toy. The game is a lot of fun to play alone or with multiple carts, but ultimately this will differ between users. Players who will get the most from Mario Kart Live are those with spacious single-room spaces, ideally with an even floor surface. Transitioning from wood to rugs and back appears to cause some issues, and few tables and chairs to crash into, especially if you want to be able to use the 150 and 200cc modes without putting a cart-shaped dent into the side of your walls. Nintendo's Toilets to Life experiment can feel like magic, but also requires a sizable living space to work effectively. I can't imagine any one of us are going to get this unless it like was halved in price, and even then, I don't know if I want to spend 50 quid in it. But I've seen videos being played. It does look so cool and so much fun. I wouldn't want to spend £100 in it. That is a thing, really.
It's awesome. I will never own it.
Yeah, I'd love to have a go.
Yeah,
like I'd love to have a go.
You know what would be ideal for is if like you have like nieces and nephews and you want to get them a Christmas present and you get them all that's their whole thing. You get to have one go on it, which is all you need on Christmas Day, and then you feel like you've got a good present.
But it's £100, and that's the problem. Because that's the thing. I spoke to my brother about this, and if it was 50 quid, I was like, right, I'll buy this for your for your sons. I'll buy this as a present between them. First thing he said was, they won't share this. They'll both want to play as Mario. So like, you have to get one of them Luigi, and the other one will hate that. But then secondly, it's like,
what's wrong with Luigi? Luigi rocks.
It's 100 quid, which is it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money to spend. But yeah, I'm glad it's doing well, and I hope it does really well. It's a really cool toy from what I've seen, and I've seen so many videos of it being used, and it looks great. It looks fantastic. But again, I doubt I'm ever going to have a go in real life unless it comes to like a game store or something like that, and I can pop in and have a go and it's running around the floor or something. But yeah, that's the end of the news. Should we talk about games we've played or are playing? Does anyone want to start?
Yeah, I'll go first. It's only brief. I've been playing Yokai Watch.
Oh, you did? Did you get it from Argos in it?
I got it from Argos for £2.
Nice.
Brand new, sealed. Lovely.
Yeah.
For those who don't know what Yokai Watch is, it's like basically it's a rip-off of Pokemon. But I've played it. I don't know, maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours so far. I've got through the first little chunk, and I definitely prefer it to Sword and Shield.
Really?
Yeah, it just has a cool little story. Like, you're this kid who's out like bug hunting, and then stumbles upon this like gacha machine, and you crack it, and there's a ghost in there or a yokai, and then you go from there, and you're finding these other yokai, and there's all these stories. Like, you get home and your parents are arguing. You're like, oh, why are they fighting? It's like, oh, because there's a yokai here who like was jealous of their happy relationship, and so she's like giving them like bad juju so that they have a fight with each other about like, oh, she wants him to do the chores, and he's always tired from coming home at work, and so then you have to go and find more yokai, and then come back and defeat this other yokai who then you befriend, and then she's now a member of your team, and they've all got personalities. Some of them have voices, and there's like little cutscenes, and it feels like you're going through episodes of a Saturday morning cartoon show. Which it's just lovely vibes. Like, I'm playing it like on my lunch hour at work and stuff. And
did you pick it up? Did you have to go to Argos to pick it up? Because I tried to get it delivered, but they wouldn't deliver it.
So go through eBay. Argos are on eBay.
Oh,
so
right. Good shout. I'll check that out. Yeah, I heard it's good. And when I saw that price the other day, I was like, my God, that's ridiculous.
For £2, it's definitely worth it. I mean, that's twice the cost of 4 games on Green Man Gaming via our link. But it's like, for £2, I really can't complain. Like, it's fun. There are probably issues with it. I'm sure that if I was like really inspecting it, I'd find a ton of things I'm not happy with about it. But I'm not really that much invested in it on a critical level. I'm just enjoying it, and like, it was £2.
£2. You can't argue with that, can you? Like,
and like the sequel's like £3. Although, right, so the sequel, this is where I'll end it. Yokai Watch 2. They have 2 games, like Red and Blue. Their names are Bony Spirits and Fleshy Souls.
Ooh.
That's upsetting.
That's
of course they are.
That's it.
Why not?
That's what kind of game we're talking.
Oh, God.
But yeah, it's fun, it's silly, it's £2. Like, I'm enjoying it a lot for what it is, and not for anything that it isn't.
It has to be a pretty bad game for £2 to be like seem like a waste of money. You know?
Yeah, but like, there are definitely games like out there. But
it's not Yokai Watch. It's not what Yokai Watch. That's awesome.
It's battle system quickly is like it's not turn based, but each Pokemon they sort of do. Pokemon. Each yokai sort of does their sort of running attack. There's those little battle mechanics. It's a really interesting battle system. I thought it was going to be crap, but it wasn't. It's actually a really good battle system, and I recommend it to anyone that owns a 3DS or 2DS or any of those.
Awesome, great, awesome. Guy, I was going to say, guys, over on the other side, there's Zach, Daf Weeks.
Yeah.
Do you have anything you want to say?
Revisited the obvious things like Tony Hawk and Mario All-Stars.
How's that been going?
Yeah, all fun, all lovely. But the game that I opened for the first time in a good couple of years, just because I remember it being really pretty and really tranquil to walk around, is The Witness. If you remember that game. Yeah, puzzle game.
I do remember The Witness.
Yeah, you walk around, then you find these little panels, and each one has a little kind of maze puzzle on it. And what it does beautifully is teaches you the rules of the puzzles without any writing or any speaking. It just kind of like tiptoes you through, and which I loved. And I remember I really loved playing it, and then I stopped playing it for a while, and it's been 2 years since I revisited that game, and I booted it up again, hoping to like go, oh yeah, this was nice. It was a really pretty island with all these puzzles, and I enjoyed this. And then I remembered why I stopped. Because it's infuriating. I got to the point basically where I just couldn't do the puzzle. I was out. I was puzzled out. I just could not beat any more puzzles on it. It got too hard for me. I got to a point and I was just like, this isn't getting any further. And the problem when you go back to a game after 2 years is you forgot the rules of the puzzles.
Oh, yeah.
So I am in puzzle limbo. So I think I played it for about 10 minutes, walking around the island, going up to a puzzle, going, nope. And then I just like, I think I'm gonna have to restart this from scratch, and I just do not have the energy for that right now.
God, I hate that. I hate it when that happens. But I was actually going to say though, going back to Mario 3D All Stars. Have you completed any of the 3 yet?
No.
So, I've only completed Sunshine. I've still yet to complete 64, and I'm taking my time with Galaxy because I like dipping in and out of Galaxy. But one thing I will say that might be controversial again, and I'm sorry. Mario 64's last couple of levels are nowhere near as good as the earlier levels in the game.
Agreed.
Like Tick-Tock Clock and is it not Rainbow Road? Is it Rainbow Road? The one with the magic carpet?
Yeah.
That one.
Rainbow Cruise or something?
I can't remember what it's called. Rainbow Ride, that's the one. Like, they're really not good levels, and I think
they get worse as they go along.
Yeah, I think I think maybe those levels get a pass because they're so late in the game.
Do you mean in design or in terms of like
in design? They just like especially
design and look.
Rainbow Road in particular. Oh, it's not Rainbow. It's what did you say it was
Rainbow Ride?
Rainbow Ride. You don't do anything. Like there's no. It's not. It's like there's no platforming involved. It's just like, and if you mess up once, you die, and it's like I get that it's supposed to be harder, but it's not hard in a way that's like challenging yourself. It's like because the game's quite glitchy as well, you can die quite easily. I just don't think they're as good.
I quite like Rainbow Ride, but not on the 64 version, on the 3DS version, because the controls are way better. But how are the controls on All Stars?
Same as N64.
Yeah, same as N64.
Right, see, that's a big problem for me because precision platforming on that game is really upsetting. Like, I don't want to play it. It just puts me in a bad mood. Whereas I do think the 3DS one, in spite of the fact that it's done on a fucking D-pad, is still actually, a big step up. In my opinion.
That's still not to say that I don't think that game is brilliant. It still is. Like, it still is, considering it came out in '96. Like, it still is so good, and I'd say like probably about 75% of the levels are still really good. But you can just sense towards the end they were just running out a bit of steam, and it might have just been easier to add stars to earlier levels to pad it out rather than having levels that, I don't know, they just felt slightly just a bit naff. But yeah, awesome. Anything else you want to talk about? I know I kind of jumped in on your Super Mario Bros. There. Awesome. Zach, how are you? Anything other?
I've not really been playing all that much, but I feel like I can maybe lead us into our group conversation we were discussing.
Yeah, go for it. Because I want to talk about something after what I know you're going to talk about. I want to talk about something after that, but that's a perfect way because I want to end on something. I'm going to talk about. So you go. Cool. I know you're going to say.
Well, so I'm still doing lots of Last of Us practice and stuff and thinking about other games I want to stream. But every night I get like after dinner, my girlfriend turns to me and just wants to play Rocket League. I got her to play like a couple of games, and now it's all she wants to do. So all my evenings are filled with Rocket League, and I'm playing Rocket League with friends from school.
Nice.
We played in the stream on Monday for Multiplayer Mondays, which was awesome, by the way. I'm so glad we got to do a 4v4.
I want to keep doing it. I want to keep doing it.
That was a lot of fun.
So much fun.
I'm terrible at it. Like, I'm really not good at that game, but I kind of don't mind for the most part. There's a couple of times when I've played with people who are really good, and it's a little boring because I'm just like, you know,
what are you there for? Sort of thing.
Why am I'm not touching the ball? It's boring.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I'm really enjoying doing that. It's not a new game. It's not even a new game to any of us. But I think since it's gone on to Epic, it's become a lot. I mean, was it always multi-platform before, or am I making
not
that up?
Always, but
not
it has
always,
been for a little.
Has
bit
been
now,
for a while.
I think PlayStation was the last holdout.
Classic.
I think it was PlayStation that was the last holdout. I mean, there are so many games that everyone else does multi-platform except for PlayStation. Like Microsoft and Nintendo are very happy to do it quite easily, but PlayStation was like, no.
Well, I think since it's become an Epic, free to play type thing, it's become it's become a bit of a gaming staple, at least around here. Jesus Christ, I've played so many games of that game.
Well, it's crazy as well because like you say as well, we did play it on 3 different consoles and there wasn't really any issues. We had some laggy games, but that was more to do with the fact for some reason we were in the South American catchment, so like we kept getting paired with people from South America. It's like, well, we're in Europe. What? This is not making sense.
I think the biggest problem was that we were asked to play it with the controllers upside down.
Oh, don't tell me about playing games upside down.
How long did you end up doing it for on Red Dead?
The entire house.
Yeah, so I had to do it in the opening for the entire so about 5-10 minutes. It was tough.
To clarify, Daf Gape made a points reward system on Twitch where if you get 1,000 points, is that right?
2,000.
Then 2,000 points, you can make us play with our controllers upside down, and it's stupid. I'm terrified of it happening to me on a solo game.
Yeah,
it was fine for Rocket League.
Yeah, Rocket League was kind of silly and fun.
Because the drop it means you have to drop whatever weapon or item you have.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
So if you're playing Last of Us 2 and you've got a gun,
well, you could make me drop like a melee weapon, and I've got to be honest. Actually, if I don't have a melee weapon, it would have to be I would drop a brick, and I've got to be honest.
Metaphorically, or
no, both. Both of those things would be terrible for my run because everything relies on melee weapons and bricks and bottles. Please don't watch my stream anymore, Dad.
But yeah, just to wrap up the Rocket League thing, because I wouldn't mind talking about the streams very quickly as well. Like the streams that me and Zach have just been doing. I can't believe you're totally right. I can't believe it's still so much fun, and the fact that it's gone free to play as well. I mean, I bought the game originally, but it was just one of my favorite multiplayer Mondays. I know, years ago. I know, right?
I bought it on Xbox, just Steam, and Switch.
Yeah, I got on 3 of them as well. But it was so cool though, because like Dav, you're on your Xbox, right? And I think me and Zach were on our PlayStations, and Daf Weeks was on his Switch. And I just love that. I love that. Gaming needs more of this, and we need more crossplay. We need more cross-playing games. Next
time we do, someone makes us reverse controllers. Dab, I want you to take your Switch and play it in handheld mode, and then play it
with the
down.
screen upside down. Yeah.
God.
It might be easier, to be honest.
He scored a goal. He's the one who scored a goal.
I did score a goal.
That's true. You scored a goal. That's great.
So just briefly want to talk about. So Zach did a really cool stream of Last of Us 2, which is still ongoing, right? Still
going.
Yeah.
We're now an hour and a half in, and with no death.
Yeah. Yeah, that was. I mean, it was really good, man. It was really tense, specifically when you're in that. I think it was a supermarket with. Who you with?
I was running around in a circle like a maniac. Like, please, Dina, help me!
It was
I
so
need
tense.
help.
Like, it was so tense. Just watching it was so tense.
God.
And because of that, it actually inspired me to play Red Dead Redemption 2. But before, so I'm just going to.
It's really good to see you get started on that.
It was really good, and I was just saying to Dav yesterday that like I'm going to keep doing this. I'm not going to talk about that too much today, but I'm going to try and keep doing that on a weekly basis because it was. I wanted to see whether the game held up, whether I just hold... Because I love that game, I know I do, but since it came out, I've read so much about it and the controls and all these other things, the good points and bad points. I just want to see how I feel 2 years later. And so far, it's pretty good. The controls are still not the best, but story-wise, it's just so good. It's just so good, and I'm already like wrapped up in the story, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to next week to continue that. I am going to talk about a series of games, though, just to finish, because we've got 15 minutes left, and I just want to briefly... So what I want to say to you guys is, I want you to have a think over the next 10 minutes, because we've got 10 minutes left of the podcast, and I want you to have a think, because I've got a question to you. I asked this question to Zach the other day, just because I just finished A Link Between Worlds, and I want to ask you guys, if you had to rank your top 3 games from the Legend of Zelda series... Rank them. Okay, I want to see what you go with 1, 2, and 3. Don't come out with it now, because I'm going to talk about Link Between Worlds first, and I'm going to talk about the second game, which is also from Zelda, and you can probably guess what it's going to be. So have a think over the next 10 minutes, and then we'll close the pod with you guys ranking your top 3, and I'll give mine as well. So yeah, I just want to talk about Link Between Worlds, because I completed that the other day, and it's such a great game. Like, It's hard because I think Dav asked me last week whether I thought it was better than A Link to the Past, and I don't know if I can answer it because it feels like I think it started off as a remake for A Link to the Past, which is why the map is pretty much identical and so much of the game is identical. So I guess it's one of those things where ease of access and the way it looks, then yeah, definitely it's better than A Link to the Past. But I feel like The Link to the Past is way darker than Link Between Worlds. Like the story is so much darker. Like the opening part of Link to the Past, you go and find your uncle in the first like 5 minutes of the game, and he's like just been stabbed and stuff. So it's really tense, the opening part of that game. Whereas Link Between Worlds, it does get tense, but it always has like a jaunty feel to it, which is great. I have no problems with that whatsoever. One of my, I love jaunty Zelda games. I love Skyward Sword. Like, so I don't know whether it's better than Link Between Worlds, A Link to the Past, but I still think it is one of my favourite Zelda games, and I'm so glad I got to play it. However, straight after that, I was like, okay, I want to continue my Legend of Zelda gaming time, because I'm trying to prep for Hyrule Warriors next month, which is coming out in a month's time. So I've got 4 games I want to play on the 3DS. Majora's Mask, I want to play Age of Seasons, Oracle of Seasons, Oracle of Ages, and the game I'm currently playing, which is Ocarina of Time. I think if I take nostalgia away from Ocarina of Time, and if I give it passes for certain things that it did for the first time in a game, I still think that game holds up incredibly well. I genuinely probably think it's I don't know, it's hard to describe, but I'm playing that game now and I'm so invested in it. I haven't played it for about 10 years, but I'm so invested in it. And the fact that it was the first 3D Zelda game still blows me away because they got so much right. It would have been so easy for them to get so many things wrong with that game because it was the first time they'd implemented a 3D game. You know, the Z targeting, like how story driven it is, this expansive for the time world, and I think it gets it so right. The things it gets wrong, traversal is a pain in the arse when you're a kid. Like having to run across back and forth across Hyrule Field is a pain in the arse, but it kind of feels worth it then when you get Epona, and then when you get all the warping songs. So yeah, I'm playing Ocarina of Time. I still think that game holds up incredibly well. I know there's probably a nostalgia attached to me, so I'm very aware that there's things in that game that I'm relying on memory to figure out rather than actually having to figure out myself. So I imagine there's probably moments in the game where if I didn't know to do something, I'd be like, what the hell am I supposed to do? I can see that. Dav, I think that's one thing you said when you did your playthrough of it, didn't you? You said there were a few moments where you were just like, what am I supposed to do? It doesn't say.
That classic Zelda logic.
Yeah, so I am still loving it though. And being able to go back and play that game looking so gorgeous as well. They've done a really good job of making it look so beautiful. I'm really excited to play Majora's Mask after I've done it, but for now, I'm just... God, man, I'm so enjoying playing Ocarina of Time. So on that, I'm going to list my top 3 favorite Zelda games. So based on what I've played recently, I would probably say Wind Waker is third. I would say Ocarina of Time is second, and Breath of the Wild is probably my first. I think Ocarina of Time was a bit shaky. Like, it could have dipped below Wind Waker, because I love Wind Waker. And I love Link to the Past as well. I love Link Between Worlds. It, again, probably would make my top 5, possibly. But for me, Wind Waker, the music in that game, the presentation is incredible. Ocarina of Time, I'm playing it now, and I'm reminded why it's so good. And Breath of the Wild is probably one of, if not my favorite Nintendo game of all time. So yeah, does anyone go? You don't have to announce it if you don't want to. I just figured it'd be something fun to finish the podcast off with.
Yeah, I'll go. I seem to mention it sort of every 3 or 4 weeks anyway. Number 3 for me is Link. No, it's not. It's Link's Awakening.
Link's Awakening.
The Switch edition specifically. Number 2 is Breath of the Wild, and number 1 is A Link Between Worlds.
Yeah.
I think that game is as close to a perfect Zelda-like, and it's a Zelda game, but it's close to that sort of genre of action adventure. It's as close to perfect as I've played.
Yeah. Agreed.
I think it fixes a lot of the issues that you get from older Zelda games, from things like Ocarina of Time, things like Link to the Past. It fixes all those issues. And if those games don't have those issues, then, I mean, imagine what games they would be. And so this game has all the good stuff, but takes out almost all the bad stuff.
You make a really good point there, actually. And just one thing I briefly want to say, I didn't have any moments that I had in A Link Between Worlds that I had in Link's Awakening, because Link's Awakening is basically just a game with better graphics, essentially, better music and stuff. But it was the same, like, everything else was the same. I didn't have any issues with that game as I had in Link's Awakening, where there were some moments where I was like, what the hell am I supposed to do? But yeah, awesome. Daf Weeks, what do you reckon your top 3 is?
I'd say 3 Wind Waker, 2 Majora's Mask, 1 Breath of the Wild.
Really?
Well, I haven't played a lot of... I never played the DS games, and I haven't actually played the NES or SNES ones. The only one from like that kind of run of games is Link's Awakening, which I had on my Game Boy Color.
Oh, nice.
Which I loved. Great game. I can't wait to play the Switch remake.
Oh, it's so good.
Hoy's been playing it recently. She completed it the other day, and I've watched her play bits of it. I'm like, I cannot wait to get stuck in.
Yeah.
Such a Daf Weeks game.
Yeah. But those 3 for me, I think are great. Like those 3D ones.
Awesome. Zach, how about you? I know this is a tough one for you because
damn it.
I know the other day when I asked you this.
I'm trying to decide which ones have the least flaws in them is the thing, because like Wind Waker has the bullshit at the end with finding the Triforce shards. Ocarina of Time has shitty combat. It's like the one thing that bothers me about the game is the combat. It just drives me nuts. So those I kind of feel like they can't go on the list because there are so many ones that are unflawed. So I feel like Link to the Past has to be up there because I don't think it has any problems majorly. Yeah. It has one where there's an item that you don't know but I kind of quite like that. It's kind of weirdly obtuse.
Yeah, it is.
There's something kind of rewarding about it, so I quite enjoy that.
Yeah.
So I guess Link to the Past. Breath of the Wild to me doesn't really have any flaws in my opinion. I know there's some people don't like voice acting and whatever, but I liked all that shit. Yeah. So I guess that has to go up there. And then I don't know, dudes. They're all really good. I like them all. Like there's none that I actually don't like. You know, I'm talking shit on Wind Waker and Ocarina, but like I love those games. I'm trying not to put them at the top because it's so easy to put them at the top because they're so good.
Okay, a better one for you then is if you had to go and play one Zelda game right now, which one would it be?
Well, weirdly, I've got this since we started talking about it the other week, I've got this real craving to go back and play Minish Cap because I love that game. It's really cute. It's really just like, and it's easy and silly and like whatever. I could just like, you know, I could sit doing it while I'm having my tea or whatever. It'd be really chill. I would enjoy that.
I did look to try and get Minish Cap, but they don't sell Minish Cap in the 3DS eShop, which I feel like is crazy.
That's weird.
On the 3DS eShop, they should sell all of those old Zelda games.
Yeah, totally.
It's like Majora's Mask is on there.
I actually think I have a copy, and I think I still have an SP that I can play it on. Maybe I'm going to start playing.
But yeah, awesome. Thanks, guys. That is it. That's the end of podcast number 27. Thank you very much for listening today. If you enjoyed the show, then please follow us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and Patreon. Tell your friends and give us a review or a comment. It really would mean so much to us. We should hopefully all be streaming this coming week, even if that is just multiplayer Mondays. Maybe we'll get some more Rocket League on the go. It's going to be hard to surpass. I'll find something different now we're all enjoying that so much. But I know, like for myself, I'll definitely be streaming Red Dead Redemption 2. I imagine Zach is going to be streaming Last of Us 2 on Sunday.
Sunday, baby.
Sunday, yeah. And Dav will no doubt be streaming something throughout the week. And then
what are you streaming next week, Dav?
Well, next week I'm actually not streaming.
Oh, yes!
I'm taking a week off. But this week I'm streaming, finishing The Messenger, and starting a new game.
Ooh.
I don't know what it's going to be yet. And then the week after we'll be continuing that game until I complete it.
So if you haven't seen those streams, make sure you go back on Twitch and check out the videos of the streams that Dav has previously done, because you might see some good stuff in there. Awesome. Thanks very much, gents. That is it. Like I said, we are Video Games Ahoy, and we'll see you next week. Ahoy!
Ahoy.